So the Order 1886 getting ready to release in a few days, and if you're the type of person who doesn't really care about spoilers, you can actually go watch the entire walkthrough right now on YouTube. Somebody's already posted up the gameplay. And there's actually a lot of people who have gotten the game early and who have already played and beaten it. So we've got a lot of comments that we can all examine. We've got a lot of footage that we can all look at together. So in this video, we're going to talk about, from what we've seen and know thus far, is this a game that's really worth buying, or is it a rental? And this game has always carried about some sort of skepticism with it ever since people started playing the early builds actually several months ago. And a lot of people have said that what they experienced during the early demos and early builds was a very linear game, a game with a lot of quick time events, and a number of lengthy cutscenes. And, some people have said that there's this sort of mass conspiracy going on within the media and the critics to, for some reason, diminish this game and try to damage it as much as possible. I'm not sure what these developers did to piss off everybody, that everybody's coming away with the same aspects of it. But for some reason, people did believe that. But now that people have actually played and beaten the full complete game, there's a lot less to argue about. There's a lot less questions that are left out there. I mean, the evidence is right there. So the question is, people want to know, is it a good game? And first, of course, everything that you're talking about is going to be entirely subjective. Some people can experience something very short and feel like they totally got a $60 experience out of that. Some people can experience something really short and say, wow, that didn't last near enough for the amount of money that I paid for that experience, okay? So everything is entirely based on opinion here. But I've looked at a lot of video footage, I've read a lot of comments, and I'm going to give you two different types of extremes, okay? And I'm going to give you just a quick couple of examples here. So here is one player who finished the game in around 9 hours long. And you've got different types of players. You've got people who will go through and explore every single possible thing within a game. They'll go get all the collectibles. They'll read every little page or file that you find. They'll make sure they look at each picture and everything else. So here is a quote from a player who finished in around 9 hours. They said, quote, "I didn't rush through the game at all. I explored every possible zone in the game. I have admired and took pictures." They said later on that they took around 50 pictures. They also said that they listened to all pedestrian conversations and got almost every collectible except for a couple. They said they even restarted a couple of checkpoints intentionally where there were a lot of enemies in order to get some combat-related trophies. So they finished by saying, yes, the game is pretty short. Another user who actually posted up the video walkthrough said that they beat the game in around 5 hours. Now, you can go watch this walkthrough, which I did watch a good bit of it, and this player doesn't spend a whole lot of time going through looking at much of anything. They just stay focused on the main trail and they just play the storyline, and that's it. And that's also including cutscenes. So if you just ran straight through the game, it is possible to beat the game within 5 hours. And if you're also including cutscenes, which by the way, you can't skip the cutscenes, it's possible some people could buy a game and only get, 3 or 4 hours worth of actual game time out of it, where you're actually playing and controlling the game. So, those are both extremes. One's looking at everything, one's not looking at anything, just running straight through. So you could probably expect an average, I would say, just guessing, 6 to 8 hours, I would say, for the average person. I wouldn't say wouldn't be uncommon. You're going to have people who spend a lot more time in game and who have a lot more game time, and you're going to have people who have even less. So we're just talking about averages here. So as far as, my own personal take on it, from everything I've read, from everything I've watched, I can see the critics' concerns. I can see that, you can just randomly click on one of those scenes and just click around, and you're going to see a lot of quick time events. You're going to see a lot of cutscenes throughout that gameplay. And for a game that doesn't have any multiplayer, even though, you know, man, this has the perfect setup, you know, for multiplayer. You could have at least co-op at the very least, and I think they will incorporate that into future iterations of the game. And I think there will be future iterations of the game that come out later on where they can do things that maybe were left out during this game. But if you're just focused on this game, no multiplayer, no real customization or deep leveling it up, there's no alternate storylines that you can get by going through and playing and, you know, making different choices or anything else. So this has been promoted as kind of this cinematic style game. And the devs have been very clear about that. They have said this is a cinematic experience. They even did an interview the other day where they said they're trying something new. They said they wanted the player to not know whether or not that they were experiencing a cutscene or whether or not that they were in control of the actual game. But I mean, I gotta be honest with you. You know exactly when that moment is whenever you move your joystick and nothing changes on screen. You know you're in a cinematic moment then and not actually in game. So for a lot of people, it takes you out of that experience. And a game that I would compare this to would be like, this is the third-person shooter version of like a game like Rise. I think Rise was a game that showed off the technical capabilities of, you know, future iterations of games, but it lacked in a lot of different areas. And I didn't believe that game was worth $60. And looking at everything that I've looked at with the order, it doesn't look like it's worth $60 either. It looks very much the same, where there's a lot of focus on the graphics, a lot of focus on the technical capabilities of like cloth and lighting and things like that. And I think all of those are going to be very important for, you know, the future and going forward. But as far as a game, as far as being a fun game to pick up and want to play and can't put down, I can't see me playing this a week out. So for me, it's a rental, and that's what I'm going to be doing with it. I'm going to be picking it up from GameFly. So I'll definitely let you know how it does. That does not mean that it's going to be a bad game, but with a lack of multiplayer, a lack of customization, a lack of length of gameplay, not being able to skip through cutscenes, there just doesn't seem to be enough here for me to justify a $60 purchase. I'm not telling you not to purchase it. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. You do what you want. If you want to check out the video that I watched, links down in the description box. That does it for me, The Red Dragon. Post down your thoughts below on the order. What do you think about what you've seen thus far? Do you think enough content is here to give you a $60 value? I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn.